Okay, thank you, Kak Desmona, and good afternoon, everyone. All right, still having some spirit high here. So, welcome to the talk show, Green World Intergenerational Climate Actions, organized by the Climate Reality Project Indonesia. My name is Ari Adipratomo. I'm the Policy and Advocacy Manager for the Climate Reality Project Indonesia, and I'm honored to be your moderator today here at the COP29 in the Indonesian Pavilion. We are thrilled to have such a diverse audience with us, both in person and also joining online. And we invite you all to be active participants today, and because the climate action is a shared responsibility that transcends generations. And today, we have the opportunity to explore different perspectives and also ideas from experts across the globe. So thank you again for being here. And we tackle the climate topics of climate actions and emission reductions, a topic that impacts all of us, from local communities to global policymakers. Today's discussions will highlight the importance of uniting voices from different generations and sectors to address climate change. This is a very critical moment for us because it's no longer climate change but also climate crisis. And we believe that collaborative strategies and shared experience are the key to achieving our climate goals. Today, we will touch upon the key topic will be presented by our distinguished speaker. First, we have Meg Bearer, International Field Senior Manager from the Climate Reality Project Global. Welcome, Meg, over here. Round of applause, everyone, for Meg. Second, we have Ibu Amanda Katliniode, the Director of the Climate Reality Project Indonesia. Welcome, Ibu. Round of applause for Ibu Amanda. Woo. We have here Kak Iqbal Alexander on the back from Kertabumi Recycling Center. Welcome, Kak Iqbal. Have a seat. We also have Mr. Niti Nesadurai, Director and Regional Coordinator for Climate Action Network Southeast Asia. Welcome, Mr. Niti. And last but not least, we have Ms. Febrina Intan, Director of PT Taman Wisata Candi Borobudur Prambanan and Ratu Boko. Welcome, Ms. Febrina. Over there. Sorry. Yes. So thank you all, and let's have a very good discussions. So we're gonna start with Meg from the Climate Reality Project Global, and the topic will be Global Campaign for Emission Reductions. And to kick things off, we'll start with a global perspective on emission reduction. Our first speaker here, Ms. Meg Bearer, who will speak on global campaigns for emission reductions. Meg is a part of the Global Climate Reality Leadership Team, and she will share how climate reality branches around the world, not just Indonesia, are leading campaigns for ambitious emission cuts. Meg, we have seen that climate reality leaders across the world driving emission reduction campaigns, from grassroots level initiative to policy advocacy. Could you share some of the most impactful global campaigns that the climate reality branches has led recently, and how they are contributing to reducing emission on global scale, and probably what lesson on local communities learn from these global actions?
Thank you, Ari, and thank you all for having me here today. Like Ari mentioned, my name is Meg Bearer, and I'm the International Field Senior Manager with Climate Reality Project. My job is that I get to work with our 10 global branches every day, learning from them, getting to support the work that they do in their regions. So I had a whole presentation prepared, and I may skip around a little bit, so my apologies. But it won't be on the screen. Oh, it's on the screen back there. Oh, look at that. Okay, great. There we are. So just to give everyone a quick background, our organization, the Climate Reality Project, was founded by Vice President Gore, and our organization is at its core a climate education and advocacy organization. So all of our programs have the dual purpose of promoting climate education and awareness, as well as campaigning to both reduce emissions and a few other areas we work in. So just a quick background on what our key differentiators are. We would say that Vice President Gore is a key differentiator. It's really great to have such a strong advocate in the climate space, an elder, I would say an elder statesman of climate, who is really pushing the agenda forward and speaking on the importance of issues today. Challenging processes. Recently, just yesterday, we had a few events with Mr. Gore, and he spoke about the importance of COP reform. So taking that stage with an elder person who really represents and champions climate is very important for our organization and drives a lot of what we do. We also host trainings around the world with anybody is welcome to attend our trainings. So we have had 16-year-old high school students, we've had stay-at-home moms, high school teachers, policy makers. So those trainings bring together people across really diverse spaces, which is very important to the work we do. And then our global footprint. Like I mentioned, I manage our programs across the globe. And so we are able to work in different parts of the world, contextualizing the campaigns we do, and that's really important to have people on the ground. And then our climate leaders. We have about 50,000 people in our network who have gone through our trainings, many of them here today and on stage. We have climate leaders on stage. So our network is very important to continue the work that we do at scale. So that's just a quick snapshot of global footprint. But I'm going to move on to our global campaigns, because I think that's the real question that Ari wanted us to dig into. So at Climate Reality Project, we have 4 campaign areas: reducing emissions, financing a just transition. That's all about climate finance, so very relevant to the work being done at this COP. Also calling out greenwashing and international cooperation. So we'll focus on reducing emissions. So the 2 goals of our organization, I think that international cooperation is important, so is calling out greenwashing, but if we don't address reducing emissions, none of the rest of this matters. So Climate Reality's approach to reducing emissions is twofold. We want to have the global emissions by 2030, and then we also want to stop new fossil fuel projects and shut down existing infrastructure where we can. In a just way, in a just transition. So that's really important to us. So this is the foundation of our Reducing Emissions campaign. Like I mentioned, we have these 10 branches across the globe, and what they do is they take that campaign area of reducing emissions, and then they create programs and campaigns that are relevant to the context that they're in. So for example, all of our 10 branches this year we're tasked with really addressing the NDCs. So, for the countries that the branches are in, they were trying to encourage their governments to have ambitious and accelerated NDCs. So that happened in a few different ways. Our branches do things like education. Some of that education is with young people through our trainings. Some of it is just with the wider community. The Indonesia branch did work on climate cafes, bringing together multi-stakeholders, lots of different people in the room to talk about the importance of NDCs and having ambitious NDCs. So that's one of our campaigns around reducing emissions. Another is that we really try to target heavy emitters and petrochemical expansion projects through grassroots campaigns. We have some in the United States as well as in South Africa. We also use different data tools for that, like Climate Trace. We work on increasing local energy commitments. We have a campaign called 100% Committed in the United States, and that one focuses on individual community members going to businesses in their community, their city government, and asking them to sign a pledge to work towards being 100% committed to reducing emissions. So we have a whole package of programming and resources that people can use to go and lobby their local governments and decision makers to commit to being 100% reduced emissions. Another thing that we do is we do direct lobbying. We train our community to go and work with their lawmakers to advocate for certain bills or policies that are important. For example, last year we went to the US Senate in Washington, D.C. We brought in different members from our community, and we all spent a day. We called it the Farm Bill Lobby Day, and we went and we lobbied the decision makers on Capitol Hill to keep their commitments to the Farm Bill. So that was an important thing that we do. That's part of our campaign. And then we also have a really great initiative called the Green Schools Campaigns in USA and India. And both of these programs work to challenge schools to be net zero, and it supports youth and the school children, school students, not just children, the school students to be direct advocates to their school communities to making that change. So that Green Schools campaign is really important because it brings together youth and adults in their lives to make that change collaboratively and together. I think I have one more slide. Yeah, and this is just my last point. We talked about the importance of collective action, I think, in Aria's opening remarks, and I would say that that's the approach that Climate Reality takes in our campaigning around reducing emissions as well, is that you can take local action, which leads to state action, national policy, regional, and then us here today. And so you'll see many of our climate leaders here who are doing these campaigns in their own home countries or regions, and a lot of that work trickles up to have influence here at the COP. And I think that's it. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Meg. So it's really interesting. And actually, yesterday we met with Al Gore, and I was starstruck. I was like, I usually only saw him on the screen, but yesterday we met him directly. And as mentioned before by Meg, our climate leaders are using the green ring on their clothes usually. So these are the commitments that we are facing right now. Thank you, Meg, for your inspiring insight on the global efforts to reduce emissions. It is clear that the bold actions on the global scale are crucial, but this effort must be matched by the local and also community-based action, which brings us to our next speaker, Ibu Amanda Catliniode, who will dive into how Indonesia is uniting communities for climate actions. Ibu Amanda here leads Climate Reality Project Indonesia, and she will share how programs like NDC cafes, as mentioned by Meg before, Green Footprints are bringing mitigation efforts directly to the community level. Setting the context and also, Ibu Amanda in Indonesia, we've seen a lot of growing movement, Ibu, bringing climate action to the community level. And your work with the Climate Reality Project Indonesia has been central to this effort. Could you, Ibu, please tell us more about how initiatives like NDC's Cafe and also Green Footprints are helping to engage everyday people in climate mitigations? What kind of challenges do you face in mobilizing communities, and how do you overcome them? Over to you, Ibu Amanda.
So many questions, Ari. That was a lot. I don't remember all the questions. But anyway, I'm Amanda Catliniode, the Director of Climate Reality Indonesia. Like Meg mentioned, that there are 10 branches around the world. And in Indonesia, we have 1,000 volunteers all over Indonesia, actually, all over the provinces. And as you see in the slide, their age range, well, 50% of our climate reality leaders are in the 14 to 25 years old range. So they're really very active. And the title of the presentation today is Community Steps, a New Path Forward. We know that climate stakeholders or climate crisis stakeholders consist of individuals, communities, organizations, corporations, and of course the most important thing is the government who comes up with policies that will help address the climate crisis. But I'm going to focus on communities because that's the stakeholder that we have been engaged in for some time. And this is just a simple definition that communities are groups of individuals connected by shared interests, values, or goals, working collectively to create change toward a better condition. Why communities are important? So communities drive tangible action from the grassroots, and they understand local needs to create sustainable solutions, and communities have full participation that fosters lasting impact. That's why we are focusing on communities. Now, the Climate Reality Indonesia have worked a lot with hundreds of communities in the last 5 years. And I'll share some of our programs working with communities. This is the green footprint. Actually, it's a part of an emission reduction program, MAC. And we are trying to really reintroduce the importance of walking as part of an emission reduction, but then also trying public transportation as well. So we have local communities work with us doing some walking tours around selected cities in Indonesia. We have one in Jogja, we have one in Solo, in Balikpapan. So they don't just walk, but also after that, we had focus group discussions of the findings of the walking tours and how it helps emission reduction as well. And they also tried public transportation. And as you can see, most of them are youth. And what's interesting is we not only doing this in Indonesia, but tomorrow we are going to have a green footprint program in Baku, working with local communities. And you're all invited to come. Ari will tell the details because I don't remember the details. But can you imagine what we learned in Indonesia, and then we also work together with youth here in Baku, and we are going to do it in downtown Baku and going to some historical areas in Baku. So I hope you can join us after Ari explain the details. Now, Climate Cafe on NDC. We at the Blue Zone, many of us know about NDC, but not everybody understand what NDC is. So we organize what we call Climate Cafe on NDC, where communities gather, over coffee or over snacks, and they talk about climate action. Not everybody understand about NDC, so the facilitator has to explain what NDC is. And the finding, what is interested in, they know that we have a commitment for our NDC, but they would like us to really give attention on what are the local environmental problems in their areas and what the solutions are, then talking about NDC. So we've done maybe 10 climate cafes in 10 cities in Indonesia, and we gathered the material, we made a report, and we sent it to the national focal point at the Ministry of Environment. Here are our findings on the grassroots level on what they think about NDC. So that's the Climate Cafe on NDC. Now, this is one of our flagship program, the Youth Leadership Camp for Climate Crisis. We've been working on Youth Leadership Camp for Climate Crisis since 2011. So up until now, we have 3,000 alumni all over Indonesia who understand what climate change is, what the actions are, and what they are going to do about it. This one is about food sovereignty, because food is affected by climate change, but food can also cause climate change. This is an area in Central Java, a very barren area, lacking water, but they have local knowledge on how to really find something that they could eat, they could plant, so they can survive, even though with climate crisis right now. This is my last slide. It is very important, not only working with local communities, but we work with international communities. It's very interesting that we have cross-branch activities, Mac, with climate reality branches in other countries. For example, this one, Southeast Asian Forest, our roots, communities in Indonesia and in the Philippines. And the slide that says Kebun Su Bogor, that was our one of our youth leadership camp for climate crisis, where we had participants from 18 countries participating in the Youth Leadership Camp for Climate Crisis. So that's actually how we see communities as a way to step forward in climate action. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Amanda. And round of applause again for Meg and Ibu Amanda, please. Woo! Thank you so much, Ibu Amanda, for highlighting the innovative ways of Indonesia in mainstreaming climate action within its communities. And as mentioned before by Ibu Amanda, actually tomorrow we have what we call the Good Footprint in Baku, we're gonna meet. Our meeting point will be at Sahil stations at 8:30 sharp over there. We can inform you to our Instagram, Climate Reality INA, and then we'll provide you with more information on that. The tour itself will be free, and it will be about an hour, going to the old town of the Baku, and then along the way we're gonna explain and also sightseeing and also discussing about the public transportations and the importance of having a green way of life living. And aside from what Ibu Amanda mentioned, we also have another flagship programs of Model UN, or we call it MOCOP, and many others. So please make sure to follow our Instagram at Climate Reality INA, and over there we'll always update our activities. And since we are talking about intergeneration, I was just wondering, how many of you here are under 40s? Under 40s? Yes, me too. Under 20? Oh, under 20, we have Aldila over here, one of our youth leaders, what we call with the youth leaders. So today we are not just talking about intergeneration, but also living the motto of intergeneration. Aldila here, one of our youth leader. She's been involved since you were 12, yeah? I think, yes, since 12 years old. So, but moving on, because we have limited time, we'll be hearing about how far we are going to focus on management, waste management sector, an area where Indonesia has been exciting community-driven solutions. Our next speaker is Mr. Iqbal Alexander, a climate leader and also sociopreneur who has been working with more than 500 waste banks across the country. Kak Iqbal here will share his experience on the implementation and challenges of managing this waste bank and how they contribute to the Indonesian climate goal. Kak Iqbal, as someone who are deeply involved in the grassroots initiatives, you've played a significant role in mobilizing waste bank across Indonesia. And as we know that waste management is also a critical part of reducing emission. Could you share with us, Kak Iqbal, the progress of the 500 Waste Bank initiative and what are the key challenges you've encountered in scaling up this model? Over to you, Kak Iqbal.
Thank you, Kak Ari. Good afternoon, everyone. Bu Amanda, my fellow climate leader. I'm a proud graduate of Climate Leader Indonesia back into 2020, I guess, during the pandemic. So basically, this is a story of my work for the last 15 years with the community on how to initiate community-based waste management, how to engage with the community through a bottom-up approach. When we deal with the community, especially in waste management, usually we divide into, into two categories, the urban and the rural area. So this waste management profile is highly important to develop climate community action that we want to develop. So this profile including income, education, collection rate, tipping fee, and waste generation, all this number will affect the community action plan that we're going to develop. And for example, when we deal with the urban communities, usually economic benefit is not really work for them. They demand appreciation, prestige, they really want to do something for the world. While with the rural communities, $1 or $2 could trigger a behavior change. So this kind of baseline study is essential to give like a clear understanding of the current situation and also to track record and develop a proper action plan. So we do baseline study on the first 2 months of the project. Then we share all the findings to the community. We gather all the community members. Usually we divided the groups into several groups, women, men, youth, and community leaders, because we believe every group has their own aspiration, has their own perspective. So we gather all the groups and facilitate discussion on how we could tackle waste management issue and to let them know that this is democratic process, so they could give feedback, they could create their own program. So on the next slide is an example of the community-based waste management that we initiated in West Java, where the most of the majority of the household is the micro and small businesses that produce homemade yogurt with a specific waste, which is the milk carton or milk box. So let's see the video for a bit. Oh, hold on. So this is the first step that we do for climate community-based waste management. We establish waste bank. So the waste bank educate the community member basically to segregate waste from the source. And this is the typical packaging waste that this village produce, which is the milk box. And we try to train the local community to recycle the milk box into various products. So when we do community-based climate action, we relied on high participation of the community member, and by letting them know how to recycle and how to make a difference in the environment, it really make a difference on their side. And we use these metrics to help the community member determine their community action. So the first metric is all the community action that is effective and also acceptable. And the second metric is what is low cost and need low support of assistance. So all community members were given a piece of paper where they could write anything they think effective, acceptable, low cost, and need low support of assistance. By doing this, we increase the participation of community member and also build trust among them. And then this is the sample of the product that this village produce. The amount of plastic waste account more than 30% of the whole household waste, and with almost 500 kilo per week of plastic waste, they produce various of product, from plastic waste to souvenir, plastic waste to furniture, plastic waste to construction. And apart from plastic waste, organic waste account more than half of the household waste, and they produce several organic recycled products like dry maggot and also fertilizer. So over the years, over the last 5 years, we managed to reduce the amount of plastic waste sent to the landfill, starting from 2019, 30%, and up all the way to 2023 to 60%. And to sum up, bottom-up approach may require initial investment or initial support, but they produce climate action that will last longer, and also high participation from the community member, and community-based waste reduction. It's just beyond waste management, but it also strengthens their technical capacity. It strengthens the community member, and it also makes sure that all the initiative implemented will be last longer and engage with all community member. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kak Iqbal. Round of applause for Kak Iqbal. Kak Iqbal, thank you so much for sharing those insights. And actually, thank you for your hands-on in working with the community, especially in mobilizing the waste banks. And also, it is very inspiring to see actually how local entrepreneurship can drive solutions to one of our highest and also biggest challenge, which is waste management. And now, moving on, we would like to shift our attention to the broader region, which is Southeast Asia. And our next speaker, Mr. Niti Nesadurai, will discuss the regional movement on a just transition for emission reduction in Southeast Asia. As the president of the Environmental Protection Society Malaysia and also regional coordinator for the Climate Action Network Southeast Asia, Mr. Niti will provide us with an overview of the regional challenges and also the opportunities for a just and equitable climate transition. Mr. Niti, Southeast Asia is actually a region that faces a very complex challenges, especially in terms of fighting climate change and also balancing the development which needs emission reductions at the same time. Could you talk to us about the progress being made in the region towards a just transitions? And what are the opportunities for the collaborations across Southeast Asia to accelerate emission reductions while at the same time ensuring a fair transition to all? Mr. Niti, time is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. And first of all, I'd like to thank Climate Reality Indonesia for inviting me. I'm very honored to be a speaker here in Indonesia, the famous Indonesia Pavilion. Usually at the COPs, I'm on the other side, as a participant, attending very interesting seminars in the Pavilion. And also like to thank Climate Reality Indonesia for inviting me. Very pleased to be sharing the panel again with Ibu Amanda. I remember in 2016 when I was invited, to speak at Binus University in Jakarta, I decided, how can I go and speak alone? So I invited Ibu Amanda to come and speak with me. And we spoke to some 400 students there, on climate change and environmental protection. So the region we are in is very challenging in the sense, in the Climate Vulnerability Index, out of the top 10 countries most vulnerable to climate risk, over a period of 20 years, on a study over a period of 20 years, 3 of the countries are in Southeast Asia. So we are a very vulnerable region to climate risk. Probably second only after the small island nations. And then on the flip side, we are a region, it's a fast economic growing region, and we're a region highly dependent on fossil fuels, in particular coal, in the energy mix. So, so with that comes emissions. Now, the good thing is, on the flip side, nearly 9 of the 10 countries which are currently members of ASEAN, 9 countries have declared net zero emissions targets, which means they're going to decarbonize, become carbon neutral by the year 2050, net zero emissions by 2050. So so this is a path towards decarbonization. So when you set a path to decarbonization, it must be together in conjunction with just transition. And what do I mean by just transition? Let me give one description. Just transition implies socially inclusive processes that mitigate potential negative effects of the green economy transition. That means minimize the negative effects of the transition, while maximizing shared opportunities and seeking to address underlying injustices in society. So that's what we mean by just transition. What they say is it's procedural justice, inclusivity, making sure everyone has a seat on the table as you discuss the future, distributive justice, making sure that everyone gets a fair share. Who gets what? Everyone gets a fair share. Restorative justice, making sure that those who have been disadvantaged in the past get a helping hand, so that it's a more balanced situation in the future. And intergenerational justice as well, where the youth, the future for the youth is provided. So in doing that, what can Climate Action Network Southeast Asia is a membership-based network. We have more than 30 member organizations in 8 countries in Southeast Asia, working to raise climate ambition at the national level. So when I talk about climate ambition, it includes reducing emissions as well as adaptation, providing for adaptation, loss and damage, and building climate resilience. So we work both, our membership spans from those working at the policy level, engaging with governments, right down to those on the frontline communities, frontline communities directly facing the impacts of climate change. And I'm very proud to say that Climate Reality Indonesia is one of our members in CANC. So how we are addressing what you're talking about, addressing the current situation in the region with regard to the growing emissions is we are involved with projects on implementing just energy transition to create models on how we can make the transition while leaving no one behind. So we have projects going on. One is called IkiJet, which is going on in East Kalimantan, Indonesia. And we also have influencing just energy transition projects going on in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines in partnership with Oxfam. What we are trying to do is create a model in which we can transition to the green economy while making sure that in the process of reducing emissions, no one is left behind. And I'd just like to talk just a little bit about and also, as CANC is a strategic partner of Oxfam on influencing just energy transition in Southeast Asia, Oxfam has formed a collaborative partnership with ASEAN Center for Energy, whereby we're also working with them to influence energy policies in Southeast Asia, especially on just energy transition. So those are the ways we're trying to do our work. I'd just like to talk about the IkiJet project, which is in East Kalimantan in Indonesia, because I really think that that can serve as a model for the world on how just energy transition can take place. Because these are the components to it. First of all, it's innovative regions for a just energy transition. It's called IkiJet. It's a partnership between the German government and Indonesian government, Bapenas representing the Indonesian government. So there's government buy-in. So the Indonesian government is involved at the national level, at the provincial level, and the local level. The second thing is a consortium addressing all the different stakeholders. So you have the International Labour Organization, which will engage with government and employers. You have the trade union, AFEDA, which engages with the workers. And then you have CAN, Climate Action Network Southeast Asia, which engages with other stakeholders, which are communities, youth, women in particular are a priority, disabled people, local governments, and businesses. So we have just a few stakeholders to engage with. And this is a 4-year project whereby this is an active coal mining region in Indonesia where the East Kalimantan province gets about 50 to 60% of its revenue from coal. And yet, they are open to the idea that the writing is on the wall for coal and we need to transition. And instead of waiting to transition, if it's 2050, let's wait till 2049. They say, no, let's start now. And so we're working together with and the whole idea is to come up with the community, all of province approach towards what their future is without coal. And so where we are involved with, we're talking to youth, we are talking to women, we're talking to small businesses, we're talking to academia, we're talking to students, and working with them to come up with, instead of, academics have done research to say that if you want to transition away from coal, if those who are working in the coal industry directly or who are involved with the coal infrastructure, these may be people who are providing catering services, they're providing housing, the retail businesses. They're not employed by the coal industry, they support the coal industry. The academics have come up and said, they can go into ecotourism, they can go into the agriculture sector, they can go into the green economy. But that is someone outside doing it for them. what we are doing is having a process whereby we work with the communities for them to envision what they feel would be the right employment or opportunities for them to take advantage of when the green transition happens. And once those opportunities are identified, training is provided for them, like to skill them, to provide the skilling, reskilling and upskilling process, which will then take them to the new job opportunities. So this is the way we are doing it, and I think we really have a potential from East Kalimantan. We also then, after completing East Kalimantan, we are moving to South Sumatra. We really have an opportunity to create a real model for the world on how just energy transition can take place with justice at the core of it.
Thank you, Niti. Thank you so much, Niti, for your insight, especially on how the regional efforts, joint efforts, it's actually navigating the complex challenges of reducing emissions, while at the same time, we are trying to ensure the just transitions. And Southeast Asia is actually, I think, offer very unique challenges, but also, as mentioned before by Niti, tremendous opportunities for innovative climate actions. Thank you so much, Niti, for your insights. And finally, we would like to move to our next speaker, which will take us on a very interesting cultural journey as we explore the role of heritage sites in climate empowerment. Here we have Ms. Febrina Intan, which will discuss on how heritage sites like Borobudur Temple or any other prominent temple are reducing emissions through sustainable tourism, and how this approach can resonate with younger generations. Ms. Febrina, cultural heritage is often seen as a separate from a climate actions. But sites like Borobudur Temple are proving that they can be part of the solution. Could you share us how the heritage sites are incorporating sustainability and also emission reductions, and how this initiative can be framed to engage and inspire young people to take actions? The floor is yours, Ms. Febrina.
Okay, thank you so much, Ari. Can we start with a video, please?
Indonesia, the realm of storytellers, where the splendor of culture flourishes in magnificent creations. We believe that every heritage has its own story to share. We are here to preserve cultural destinations, ensuring their tales echo across the globe. By connecting the past, the present, and the future, we are in Journey Destination Management. We aspire to bring Indonesian heritage and culture closer to the world by providing a world-class experience. Each site and destination under In-Journey Destination Management is developed holistically, incorporating cultural conservation, spiritual tourism, educational opportunities, and inclusive tourism. Beyond being mere tourist destinations, we cultivate ecosystems that bring widespread benefits, empowering local communities, uplifting the entire county, and elevating Indonesia's global reputation. We believe that investing in people is the key to preserving our culture. In-Journey Destination Management consists of individuals who are deeply passionate about preserving Indonesian cultural heritage. We see our smiles as the cornerstone of delivering exceptional service, reflecting the passion and heartfelt dedication we put into everything we do. In-Journey Destination Management is committed to exploring and developing new destinations, revealing their latent potential to the world. Together, we protect the heritage of Indonesia, a legacy for the world.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. I will start my presentations today with a big thanks of having me here. And it is an honor, Ibu, to invite me to share the stories of what we have done as a heritage site. Some of you might think that, what are you guys doing? What is the connections of climate change and tourism? It has a lot of connections between this. And let me tell you a story from here. This is our visions, presenting Indonesia's heritage and culture to the world through a world-class experience by connecting the past, what have we done in the past, to make it relevant in the present, and to make sure that Borobudur, Prambanan, Ratu Boko, and Taman Mini Indonesia Indah is still there for the future. This is our purpose. We are managing 3 sites, and 2 of them are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, which is Borobudur and Prambanan. Our intentions and our commitment is to preserve and safeguard the nation's heritage and the cultural heritage. It is our purpose and objective to ensure that Borobudur, Prambanan, and Ratu Boko, and also Taman Mini Indonesia Indah will be there for many years to come. What interesting is, when we talk about heritage sites in Yogyakarta greater area, it is not just only Borobudur and Prambanan, but recently, last year, we have this cosmological axis of Yogyakarta and its historic landmark. It is part of UNESCO Heritage Site as well. So in Yogyakarta greater area, we have 3 integrated sites of heritage, which mean it is going to be a massive tourism floated in Yogyakarta area. So how are we going to make sure that something nice about the tourism ecosystem in Yogyakarta is not going to impact on the climate change? So this is what we have to do. We have 4 pillars. In the past, IDM, or Engineering Destination Management, we were like a ticket agency. You know, we sell tickets to as many people as possible, and that's it. For now, our job is to make sure that we have to create stories for as many people as possible, be it from spiritual point of view, conservations, educations, and inclusive tourism. Conservations, we have to make sure that Borobudur, especially, we have some issues right now. It is going to stay for in the next 1,000 years. Currently, we are having this, what you call, restrictions on people coming up to the temple for 1,200 people a day. So it is not as many people as possible to go up to the temple. So we have the intention to stop exploitations on the temple, but then we have to start explorations. So when people come to Borobudur and people come to Prambanan, it is not about going up to the temple and take photos and selfies and whatnot, but it is about exploring the area of Borobudur, exploring the area of Prambanan. Inclusive tourism is something that we have our commitment that it has to make a social impact. So our role is not transactional, it's not making money as many as possible, but the being of IDM in those areas, it has to make economy and social impact. Educations, nothing to prove on this. We have museums, we have metaverse right now. So if you see around here, people are starting using the Oculus. So when you come to Borobudur, we have already. It's like you don't need to go up there to have the experience. By having that digitalized, we are conserving Borobudur for the future. So the reason we are here is really to speak about what we have done on climate change. We have this concept in our company on sustainable tourism and unified preservation actions. These are the three pillars that we have. First is water and waste management initiatives, and sustainable mobility and carbon reductions, community engagement and partnership in environmental conservations. Water and waste management initiative. If you see here, we have like 3 tons of waste per day. 92% of it are organic, 8% are non-organic. Because we are having in the space of close to 70 hectares of area, lots of trees, a lot of things that we really have to manage on composting process. We also have collaborations with the villages around Borobudur area, and we also have to educate visitors to do all these activities based on the reuse and recycle. So we have done this for many years, and we want to make sure that we still have doing it again for the future. Water treatment master plan. This is really interesting. There was a story that Borobudur was based on on a lake. It's a very old lake, but this is just a story. But what we are having here, if you see all the dots there, those are the dots of the locations of the distribution tanks and and the groundwater stores. What we have here, it is with the research that we have, it is proven that we have exploited groundwater source close to the max. In a bad day, Borobudur can utilize 86% of its water ground source. And for Prambanan, it can be up to 60%. This is not a good message for us. So what we do is to make the master plan. Short term, we explore sustainable water solutions, which is based on the rain catchment and also from the river around Borobudur and Prambanan area. On medium term, we implement water-saving technology. Long term, we will establish cost-effective, centralized, and decentralized water infrastructure. This is going to take time, at least the next 5 to 10 years, but we already starting. So in Borobudur, we have 6 groundwater sources, 2 reservoirs, and 4 distribution tanks supplying all the clean water for operations. We have 30 wells, clean water supply in Prambanan, and 2 wells located in the base of the hill of Ratu Boko. Second is sustainable mobility and carbon reductions. As Ibu Amanda mentioned earlier, that we have, Ari mentioned earlier, that we have done a lot of electric vehicles in our sites. Like the 71 hectares, we have car-free area. Currently we only have 1 charging stations and electric vehicle 22. What we want to do in the greater Borobudur area, we wanted to have all electric vehicle and none of them is the conventional vehicles. For Prambanan, with its 85 hectares, we have car-free area already with 1 electric vehicle charging stations, and we do have like 26 of EV. So currently with Borobudur revitalizations, people are not going to Borobudur directly, but they have to come in and out 1.5 kilometers away, and going to Borobudur, they will use an electric vehicles. So our spirit is to have totally 0 emissions for Borobudur greater area. This is also in Taman Mini Indonesia Indah with a huge park of 150 hectares. With the new renovations, we are not allowing conventional cars to come into the park. So people either have to walk or they have to use the electric vehicles. This is an interesting story. If you ever happen to come to Borobudur, there is this experience with the Volkswagen Safari. You can roaming around the greater Borobudur area, but the CO2 emissions by this initiative and experience, it costs a lot and it is not good for the environment. So we just initiate this project with several institutions and ministries that we are going to change all this Volkswagen Safari tour into electric vehicles. Not only for them, it is going to be cost efficient. Let's say a month they have to spend #1,000,000 with the electric vehicles installed in their car, they can reduce it up to 70%. So this is the projects that we're really looking forward to have Borobudur area with zero emissions in the future. Last but not least, community engagement. We have done a lot with the local communities, but what interesting is we have these recent events with Ibu Amanda in Prambanan area. It's an eco-friendly walking tour, green footprint initiatives that build awareness and also youth movement. This is the message that we are going to tell them, especially to the young generations, that being a tourist doesn't mean that you have to leave behind all these garbage, plastic bottles, and what's not. It is possible that with the tourist activities that you have, you can choose to have a zero emission. And with this awareness building, we hope that the young generations will start becoming the brand advocate in the youth movement. So this is my last presentations, but what I'm trying to say that even in tourism industries that has nothing to do directly, you can actually contributing to the climate change. And I hope what we have been doing here, even though it's starting small, it is going to stay for a long run. Thank you so much. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Kak Febrina. And it is very interesting. I just remember a few months ago when we were joining up on the activity, what we call the Green Footprint in Prambanan. It's not just seeing the temple itself, but learning on how our ancestor in Indonesia is actually aligning its value with the nature. And it's very knowledgeable tour guides over there that also teach us about the local wisdom on how actually the Javanese culture is very much aligned with preservations of the nature and many others. Mamayu Hayuning? Bawono. Yes, thank you, Kak Arifa. And thank you, Ibu Febrina, for that fascinating perspective on connecting the cultural heritage with the climate actions. It is incredible to see that even historical landmarks can play a really significant role in mitigating emissions and how they can inspire young generations to engage with the climate solutions and at the same time preserving the culture. Now, we have time not only for discussion, but before that, I would like to invite our youth leader, Aldila, because the topic is on intergenerations. Aldila, could you come forward and also share us about your experience joining with the activities from the Climate Reality Project Indonesia? Could you please stand up, Aldila? Give a round of applause for Aldila.
Hello,
Over here.
Okay.
Thank you, Aldila.
Hello, everyone. I'm Aldira Suchipto, and I'm a youth climate leader. I've joined the Climate Reality Project activity since I was around 12 or 13, and I'm 16 right now. The first Climate Reality Project activities that I've joined is the YLCCC coffee. Yep, it was in 2022, 2023. Yeah, it was a couple years ago, and it was my first starting point of learning deeper about what's climate movement and climate changes. And moving further, I joined a lot of their movement as well, a lot of their activities, and I gained a lot of new perspectives and a lot of new kind of mindset changes. And I started doing my own little advocacy work that I do on social media, and I do a lot of advocacy towards my friends and my communities. And I've also joined the YLCCC the ASA chapter leadership camp, and I've joined COP last year as well with Wamanda and Karifa and Kahana, where I became a keynote speaker about the coffee as well. And yeah, joined a lot. And it's really fun. I really thoroughly enjoy everything. I love all of the activities that they create, that they really include youth and they really support us and they really take our thinking to considerations. Thank you.
Thank you, Adila. Give a round of applause for Adila. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have time to take some questions from the audience. We'll take 3 questions for the first round, and then please feel free to raise your hand. Or if you're joining virtually, you can type your questions on the question column. We have one over here. And another questions? Kak Arifa? And one more? Do we have another question? Okay, we'll take 2 questions first.
Thank you very much. I'm Hanadi from Sudan. Thank you for this very interesting presentation. My first question is this recycling in the same area, or they collect this and go another area and something like that? And what's the outcome for the recycling? Is it used as a compost in the same area? This is my first question. Second question, is it this project or this idea for culture and as UNESCO, this is very important issue, and tourism, is it one of your national adaptation plan? Because this project is serve as mitigation and adaptation. So do you organize this project from your national determined contribution as adaptation plan of the country? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll take the second question from Kak Arifa.
Okay. Well, this is intergenerational talk, right? And we talk about how we learn from our past and make it better in our present, so we can provide better for the future of the next generation. And I really appreciate what you've done in Borobudur and Prambanan. I can say that not only that human being in a word climate justice, I can see that the justice apply multi-species in Prambanan, because I was watching how the birds, how the carpet on the ground are alive there. Like they have you bring back the forest of Prambanan area, and I do hope you do that to Borobudur as well, so the heritage places can become the place where the present meet the past meet the future. So what I want to know is probably from Meg and Niti about the heritage, about the indigenous wisdom, how you implement it regionally and globally to be the part of climate solution for intergenerational movement. I think I'm addressing it to the how you do it globally and regionally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the 2 questions. So the first question, I think it will be addressed to Kak Iqbal first, and then the second part of the question can be addressed by Ibu Febrina and also Ibu Amanda. Kak Iqbal first, over to you.
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you, colleague from Sudan. Nice to meet you. Based on the ministerial decree, the waste bank or community-based waste management can be created in the smallest government administration or sub-district, usually less than 1,000 household. Then where we establish the waste bank, basically is the waste collection center. Then following up, we create also community-based recycling center in the same area usually. So it's under the sub-district. Usually this bottom-up approach doesn't get financial support from the government, but we get a lot of technical assistance support, and I think nowadays the private sector has been really trying to support us. So there's a lot of funding and also another kind of support from other non-party stakeholder. But but in Indonesia right now we have 12,000 waste bank across the countries. I think we have in every cities and regencies, and the goal is to create community-based waste management in every sub-district of in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Kak Iqbal. I think the next question will be answered by Ibu Febri.
This is about the adaptation, right?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, thank you for your questions. As a state-owned company, yes, we have to adapt that directive from the center. But the way we are doing it is really up to us. For Borobudur and Prambanan, we do have what we call master plan. So with that master plan, it is one of the indicators of the master plan is how we manage waste. So yes, if I may say, if your questions is it is a directive from the center government, I can say yes, but it's just not like directly. You know what I mean? Because we have all the luxurious to do it our way, based on the insights and the studies that we have in the particular area. So I hope it's answering your questions.
Ibu Amanda, would you like to
or
add
even
another?
confusing?
Very nice, very nice project can be one of your national determined contribution.
Yes.
One of NDC of Indonesia, because it is for the outcome, come to the village around this area, they benefit so much. It is an adaptation project. So maybe one of your national determined contribution.
Yeah. Because one of the number one KPI for us is we are not what you call revenue generator per se, but for our being is to make a social and economic impact for the society. So that is the number one. So so many works need to be done in that area of Borobudur and also in Prambanan. So that's our job, precisely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bu Amanda, would you like to add more?
Yeah, I see your point. There are lots of activities, lots of projects that actually should be part of a national adaptation plan or some of our mitigation action. So that's why we are here actually. We are sharing what we are doing in the hope that the national focal point will take notice, and then perhaps in the future it could be part of our emission reduction and also part of our adaptation plan. But like Ibu Feby said, we do follow the policy, the government policy. We know what's on our NDC, and then we try to connect what we did, whether it's in line with the national policy on adaptation and mitigation.
Yeah, I'll respond to Arifa. No, that's a great question. Like, how do you benefit from the knowledge and of the indigenous peoples and the youth? So even in the earlier example I was giving, I think the point there is ensuring, stakeholder engagement, or what we call procedural justice, making sure inclusivity, making sure everyone has a seat at the table. So in order to get the maximum benefits and to be able to benefit from the knowledge, the traditional knowledge, the information which everyone has, there has to be an institutionalized consultative process whereby, whether it's related at the local level or the provincial level or the federal government level, that all the different stakeholders are consulted on projects. Especially very important, two particular groups, especially important are the women and the youth. So this is how you can benefit from all the collective knowledge, because everyone has something to share. And one of the things also, the first milestone for our project in East Kalimantan is to set up a regional consultation forum whereby the local authority as well as the provincial government engages with the communities on a regular basis in an institutionalized manner. in terms of what we are doing at the regional level, it is something very interesting because since the partnership of Oxfam and CANSI with the ASEAN Center for Energy, every year ASEAN has a ASEAN Ministers of Energy meeting. Alongside that is the ASEAN Energy Business Forum. And this is a forum where people come and, who's there? The fossil fuel companies, the electricity utilities, the automotive industry representatives, very much a business forum. Since we've got involved this year, for the very, very first time, the ASEAN Energy Business Forum had two social components: stakeholder engagement and empowerment, to show how important it is to engage stakeholders. And for the very first time, we had a gender and energy nexus. For the first time, they had a specific discussion on women. And that's how we've been able to influence the process at the regional level.
I can just add in quickly, I think sometimes being a global organization, it's hard to learn from the multitude of cultures and best practices. And so it's really important for Climate Reality to have our branches, or being a regional network, to listen to all of your stakeholders, to engage them in your process. And so I think at an institutional level, that's important. But just to build on what Nidhi was saying, providing those spaces for stakeholders, and I think we all would hope that our governments are doing that, but in light of that not always being the case, sometimes I think networks and organizations have to fill that gap. I will give a small shout out to our Brazil branch. Our branch manager is sitting right here, Renata, but they have a very fantastic program that works with different communities across the different biomes in Brazil. It's called the Climate Rights Charters, and they develop these partnerships with communities where through participatory approaches, they work with them to identify their demands for their governments, and they collaboratively bring those demands up through the decision-making processes. They even deliver some of them here at COP to decision makers. And so that's in partnership with those communities where there may not be the institutional processes for raising those concerns, but instead trying to partner and fill the gap to bring that knowledge and those demands to wider audiences. So that's just another example from all of the work that our branches do.
Thank you, Meg, and thank you for Niti too. So I think we have another questions right on here. Yes, another one. Yes, we have two questions here. Yeah, Kahana?
Okay, thank you. I will come back to the case from Indonesia. I find it very, very amazing. And I want to ask, what about the private sector? So what about the agency? And it is implied an extra fees, all this processing and all this focus on climate change on the tourist itself. I find it very interesting that you are educating tourists. This is something new. That this is the first time that I heard about it, and I am very clapping for that, because we need to be a tourist, but we don't need to destroy everything around us. Yeah, how it's impacting first private sector who are working in this area, and also this kind of educating tourists. Can you please give us much more about it? Because I find it very, very intelligent and smart. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the second questions right on the back here. Thank you, Ka.
Thank you very much. I'm Hiyam Ahmed from Sudan. Firstly, I'm very interested to presentations, and the Sudan have also project ongoing for waste management, but unfortunately not working at the recycling or use it for waste, just collection and just collection. With regard the heritages, I want to ask about what new technology you can use, because it is very important to keep the indigenous knowledge in this area, but also we are in the 21st century. Yes, it's very important to can introduce urbanization of this area. What technology or what indigenous knowledge can develop to the new technology in this area? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the questions. I think it's about preserving the cultural heritage and how to present it to the future generation, yeah, Kak. I think those two questions are for Kak Pavilion. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having an interest in what we were doing back in Yogyakarta area. Yes, it is not an easy process. It's a painful journey that you have to be committed to. I mean, like, have you been to Borobudur before? I think you should.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like we just launched a new like cultural market 1.5 kilometers away from Borobudur. Before, when you get down from the temple, you will have a very bad last mile experience with 3,000 massive people surrounding the area selling things. Selling things from like souvenirs, you know, all those stuff that tourists would love to have. Now we are moving them away to what we call Kampung Seni Borobudur. It's an art market, which is now having like 1,900 outlets. What we are doing an educations on these people for the society. We are curating the standard. Even though there are street vendors, we are making them as a world-class street vendors. At least they speak English, and they have good quality products that we taught them how to do, and we taught them how to sell them. And this product is being products from recycled things around the area. So this is what we do, and the one important thing that we are also engaging with the community around Borobudur. The carrying capacity of Borobudur is now being restricted by 1,200 tourists a day. And when they're going up to Borobudur, they have to wear these special sandals. Yeah, you cannot use your ordinary shoes going up to the temple. So these sandals is made by the community around, and like 50% of these sandals is recycled materials. So we call it upanat, Ibu. So this is how we empowering the private sectors, meaning like the micro, super micro, yeah. But they are the one who live their life depending on the tourism in Borobudur area. So we wanted them to make sure that they are not depending alone from the temple itself, but they're also able to sell the products in the better market. And we also have a marketplace digitalized for them. So that would answering your first question, your questions. Am I answering your questions? Perfect, thank you so much. So come to Borobudur. I'll give you my card. I'm promoting here. I can do that, right? Yes. Yeah.
Will we get the free ticket?
Yeah. Yeah, I have some giveaways, so you
can. Oh, yes, we have some giveaways.
Hannah, you have to distribute to everyone. So coming up to your question about digitalize, yes, it is very important. So next year, there will no like cash payment. It has to be everything digital payment for everyone to come to our sites. And also people should register online, because when they want to go up, as I said, we have a restrictions on the carrying capacity of the temples, only 1,200 people per day. So there is a restrictions, they have to register online. So we know like how many already have registered to go up. And then we also know how many has already go down. So 15 up, 15 down, something like that. It is monitoring digitalized. And I mentioned earlier, we have museums. In the museums, you also have metaverse. So you don't really need to go up to the temple if it's so hot and it's kind of heavy to go up there, challenging. So you just do the Oculus, and you feel like you're going up there, you can go to the top without losing your breath. And, sorry?
Is it 3-dimensional?
Yeah. Yes, it is. And we are now building the immersion in our museums, but it's going to launch next year. So immersive, you can feel like how it is like many years back, how Borobudur is being developed, and you can feel, you can see, you can hear on an experience on Borobudur. Digitalized. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Febrina, for the great insight and also great answer.
And promoting as well.
Of course. It's very important for all of us to go to Jogja then,
Yes,
right?
please do.
Jogja and Magelang, where
Yeah.
the Borobudur and
Yes.
Prambanan is located. And not to Boko, also in Jogja. So that will be the end of our discussion. Thank you for your questions. But before we go, I would like to invite Ibu Amanda to present the souvenirs on behalf of Indonesian Pavilion to the speakers. Now I would like the assistant.
Actually, on
Pak
behalf of the
Agus.
pavilion, Pak Agus will
Sorry
present
about that. Sorry, Pak Agus.
a vote of
for the
thanks
misinformation.
to all the speakers. Thank you very much for your valuable insights, sharing your wonderful experience. So I guess, given the complexity of climate, mohon berdiri, bapak-bapak, please kindly accept expression of gratitude for your time, for your presence being here. So, yeah, because climate challenges and issues are very complex, so it requires multi-stakeholder actions and collaborations across sectors, across generation to ensure a smooth, a more efficient way to confront the climate crisis. So through intergenerational, through multi-stakeholder, take a picture first. Pak Agus being in the middle. Yes, so through intergenerational, multi-stakeholder engagement, hopefully Indonesia can leverage the strength of its people and institutions to drive a meaningful change. So hopefully you enjoy our program today and find it very informative and insightful, and let's take the motivation, the inspiration from what you learned today to make a positive impact within your communities and beyond.